Mr. Brown, I mean, we still haven't got the final sort of thing, but you've got it on good authority that the Isle of Man isn't on any blacklist.
That's right. I mean, we have a reliable source close to G20 where we have information that indicates quite clearly that the Isle of Man is not on any blacklist, and in fact, if they're giving list colours, we're on the sort of main list, which is the white list, saying that the Isle of Man is a cooperative jurisdiction with the other countries.
How important is that information then?
Well, it's very important for the Isle of Man. I mean, we've been working hard for about 9 years now to progress these tax information exchange agreements, which is what the OECD has been looking for. And the Isle of Man has been very proactive in that. In fact, we've been one of the most proactive countries in doing that. And we are now at a stage where that's being given recognition. So I think that in itself is important, that we're being given that recognition, but also very importantly, it actually takes uncertainty away from the Isle of Man. It gives people confidence that the Isle of Man banking system is a good banking system, and in fact that we are recognised by G20 and the OECD as being a place that is cooperating with the rest of the world.
What's your view on Gordon Brown? What's your view on Gordon Brown? I mean, there's the UK that technically represents the Isle of Man in international affairs, external affairs, who seem really to have it in for this term of tax haven. It must have been quite a difficult one to juggle really there.
Well, certainly it's been a difficult one for us. I mean, the United Kingdom government itself has, of course, its own interests, but it also has this responsibility in constitutional terms to also look at the Isle of Man's international interests. But quite clearly, this issue of tax havens and non-cooperation is an important matter to the rest of the world, and the United Kingdom government is part of that, looking at that. So I'm sure he's had to balance that up. From our point of view, of course, we've been very robust in defending our case, making that case through to the United Kingdom and to the OECD and to the other countries of Europe where we've been developing these tax information exchange agreements, to say, look, you know, we are very proactive in this, we agree with what you're doing, therefore we would hope we would be given that recognition. And what we've seen today is that recognition being given.
But hasn't it been Brown v Brown behind the scenes at some point here?
Well, I think the point is we all understand politics and there's a job to be done. My responsibility quite clearly is to lead the Isle of Man government in its sort of stance on this, to look after the interests of the people of the Isle of Man and its businesses, and that's what we've been doing. It's been going on for some years now, and a lot of effort has been put into it, and we can't be complacent. We still have to move forward. We still have to continue to progress with information exchange agreements on taxation, and we will continue to do that. But I think the point that Gordon Brown today confirmed, that what the G20 has agreed to is that they are recognising cooperative jurisdictions where in fact there are tax information exchange agreements, and that's what we are. So our stance as an Isle of Man government in taking that forward has been one that is now paying off and has been the right stance to take, albeit that in the early days there was some concern about the way we were trying to go forward, and I think what we're seeing now is that that has paid off.
What do you feel about the outcome today?
Well, I'm very pleased with the outcome. We still have to have final confirmation that the Isle of Man is on the whitelist, but unofficially we have been told that the Isle of Man has been identified as a fully cooperative, transparent jurisdiction and has been placed on the whitelist.
How has this all been for you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, the United Kingdom is responsible for external affairs for the Isle of Man, and at the same time you feel like you're battling them.
It has been a very challenging few years, and a huge amount of work has gone in, really going back from the year 2000, but more in particular over the last 4 or 5 years, as we've had to first of all convince our own business community, we've had to convince our politicians that this is the right course of action. We've had to, certainly in recent times, put up with a considerable amount of hostility from the United Kingdom government as well. And so it has been a very, very challenging period for us. But we have persevered. We have led the way internationally in terms of signing tax agreements with OECD countries. The Isle of Man now has more than anyone else in the world. And I think the honesty of our commitment and our willingness to deliver on the promises we've made shows that the Isle of Man is a fully cooperative, transparent jurisdiction which meets the highest international standards.
How much strain has it put upon the relationship there with the UK?
It's been an interesting period for the relationship between the Isle of Man and the UK, not necessarily just about this particular issue, because in a general sense, the Isle of Man agrees entirely with the international agenda. Jurisdictions should be open, they should be transparent, there should not be any ability to encourage tax evasion. We agree with all that, and we have worked on that agenda for quite some time. So in that sense, we are at one with the United Kingdom, but with any relationship, things get strained from time to time, and I'm sure the outcome of the G20 and the apparent success that there's been, together with the Isle of Man, of course, now being internationally acclaimed as being sufficient to go on the whitelist, I think will improve our relationship still further.
Gordon Brown, though, he's can be known as being slightly tricky because there's ways that yet he can have a pop at the Isle of Man, isn't there?
Well, of course, once G20 is out of the way, and certainly once today is out of the way, we have to look at the small print of the communique and be sure that there are no stings in the tail there to bite us. But also, of course, coming up very shortly is the UK budget, and we'll be very alert to what might possibly evolve from that as well, which potentially could damage some of our business. But that remains to be seen. We just have to be very conscious that what has happened today is good news for the Isle of Man, but we must recognise that this isn't the end of the journey. This is only a staging post, and we have to be very alert and very active in the international community in the time ahead now to maintain our position, to build new relationships, to continue to sign the tax agreements which we've started some 9 years ago, and prove on a continuing basis to the international community that we are fully committed to that international agenda, and we will work actively with the G20 and others to deliver just that end.
A fair percentage of the banks that are in the Isle of Man are now technically part owned by the UK government. Do you feel that is it going to be the sort of stealth way that things may change? He may cut operations off to the Crown dependencies.
That certainly is a point of view, but we have no indication at the moment that the UK government are planning that. The banks which we have on the Isle of Man are vitally important elements of the UK banking system. The Isle of Man itself channels something between 40 and 50 billion pounds a year into the City of London. We are an important conduit for new business coming into the UK. And I think the UK, as long as they are satisfied with our levels of cooperation and transparency, I think the UK will recognise the contribution that the Isle of Man makes to the UK economy and will take appropriate actions.
Again, it is just thought, you hope that's the case. We don't know, do we? And there must be a slight worry until you see what he says in his budget now.
Well, nothing is given in life, and we have to be relaxed about that. We will just have to see what the budget delivers. Alistair Darling, of course, has a tremendous challenge ahead to turn around the UK economy, and we will just have to wait what solutions he proposes on the day.
Overall, though, how do you feel? I mean, what would you give the scorecard today after once it's confirmed? That is, what do you give the Isle of Man now? Out of 10?
I think the Isle of Man can be very satisfied with the progress we've made. I think there will be a collective sigh of relief around the island, certainly through our business community, that we have achieved whitelist status. That is a major endorsement for the quality of business that we have on the island. It will be a source potentially of new business coming here, and also it will help to protect our levels of employment and future government revenue streams to provide public services for our people. So provided the news that we've been given is confirmed, I think overall we can be very satisfied with the progress the Isle of Man has made today.
Because if things hadn't gone our way, it could have been a completely different situation.
I think had we been on the blacklist, it would make it very difficult for our economy to be as successful as it has been, and may well have seen the departure of certain business from the island in the wake of that. So certainly, had it gone the other way, it would have been damaging to the economy, I think, and obviously equally damaging to employment prospects and the overall prosperity of our people.
So finally, now we're presumably on the whitelist. Does that mean good times are here again and it's going to be a boom situation in the Isle of Man?
No, I think there's still a massive amount of work we have to do to carry out. First of all, to maintain our position internationally in the recognition of the cooperative state that we are. But of course, with the turmoil in the world economy, we still have major problems ahead to maintain the economy at the level it is, to attract new business here, to replace the business which inevitably we're going to lose in the time ahead, to maintain full employment, and to maintain the high quality of life we've enjoyed on the island over the last few years. So, as I've said before, this is only a staging post today. This isn't the end of the game by any stretch of the imagination. The work that we've put in over the last few years to achieve what we have today has to continue, and in many ways has to be almost redoubled to maintain the position we have. Like every other economy worldwide, we have major challenges ahead. But today is a good first step, which will strengthen our hand in developing the economy into the future.